Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to Season 4 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, recording here at the subterranean Rimrock Studios outside of Bishop, California. I have another great season of interviews with retailers, brand managers, executives, athletes, and others in the outdoor biz to share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and hacks you can use to take your career or business to the next level. Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a fantastic holiday season. I'm excited to kick off Season 4 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Todd Branham of Blue Ridge Adventures. Todd is doing great work in the Blue Ridge Mountains, building trails and mountain bike communities through his businesses. We talk about his early days on a bike, the inspirations, challenges, as well as some of the intricate details of building trails. Thanks for all you do, Todd, and coming on the show, and thanks to the crew at Darby Communications and Julie Bacon for connecting us. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. Hey, Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you on. So how's it going back there this morning? It says it's pretty warm?
Yeah, it's pretty warm. It's going to be a nice sunny day here in North Carolina today.
Perfect. That's a good thing. Same here in Bishop. What was your first exposure to the outdoors? How did you get excited about mountain biking and all things outdoors?
Well, I guess it started really young. As a kid, my parents, all they had to do was put me in a room in the house for punishment, and that was my punishment. I really liked the outdoors, so I'd stand at the door and cry until I could go outside. So It started pretty young. I just enjoyed, and I grew up kind of in the country, so I enjoyed playing in the forest, and right off the bat, man, I was kind of an outdoor person.
What was your first traditional outdoor? Did you go on a backpack trip or camping? What was your first outdoor activity?
Yeah, my parents took me up and actually to North Carolina, where I grew up in South Carolina. It's only 2.5 hours away from the mountains, 2.5 hours away from the beach. So we did spend some time up in the mountains here in the Appalachians and kind of did some camping, some hiking. And I think that was probably my first real experience to the outdoors.
Cool. Did you have a traditional outdoor job? Did you work retail or anything?
I had a paper route, believe it or not, when I was really young at 8. And I remember riding on the paper route going, no one else my age is really doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I kind of said, what I really like is this office. I like riding my bike from my neighborhood to the next. And, that's really it all started was, how can you make your life with the office that you're in right now outside? How could you do that?
At 8 years old, you figured that out. That's impressive.
Well, you enjoy. Sure. You start thinking of your life, what you're going to do, and it's taunting, and you're like, well, I really like this, but how do you make money at being outside?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so you started Blue Ridge Adventures at some point along the way to pay your office. Tell our listeners a little bit about Blue Ridge Adventures. What do you guys do?
All right, so Blue Ridge Adventures now is in our 21st year, and we are a race production company at this point. We focused on mountain biking for a decade or so, and now we branched off into the all-popular gravel grinding discipline, where you just it's kind of gravel roads, and then of course we have some paved road events as well, road bike events, but I've always liked riding my mountain bike. I've raced for a long time, and just in the area that I'm in, at the time there was nothing, and it was such a unique forest, the Pisgah National Forest up in North Carolina, that Blue Ridge Adventures actually started the first permitted mountain bike event in the Pisgah National Forest 21 years ago. Wow,
very cool. And did you used to do tours also?
Yeah, we started out as a touring company, and that kind of, back in the day, I did some touring from South Carolina up to Brevard to show some of the younger folks the area and just expose them to what I had seen and where I was training. And, again, it's only 2 to 2.5 hours away, so it's quite different than the flatlands of Columbia, South Carolina.
Right. And where the inspiration for Blue Ridge Adventures come from? Just from all your rides, or someone talk you into it?
Um, well, I mean, it kind of came, it kind of came naturally. I mean, as I'm racing, I'm looking around, and again, I'm going, what do I do in the
Mm-hmm,
world? I'm
mm-hmm.
going through school. I've got a marketing and a management degree. I'm getting closer to graduating, and I'm driving from Columbia up to North Carolina all the time. And so it seemed kind of like, let me try this, and I hung around a bunch of guys that were very successful at putting on events. So I kind of knew Blue Ridge Adventures, what it could become.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What was the catalyst for the switch from tours to adventures?
I actually, did a couple races and saw that was
Yeah.
much easier than doing tours. Tours, you're by the phone all the time.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people, one on one. I mean, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and guiding. I
Where
mean, when you're guiding, you're it, right? You're there everything for those days.
you are, yeah, and it's such a diverse place to get permits around here. The forest, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many forests. It became rather expensive unless you were doing it full time.
I'll bet. I'll bet. And how'd you get involved in trail work?
So this was an interesting turn, as Blue Ridge Adventures was in its probably sixth or seventh year. Um, the way that the Forest Service works is after the events are done, you send in your participant level and what you charge everybody, and then of course the Forest Service gets their cut. Well, at the time I was writing a check and it was going to L.A. and I kind of went
L.A.,
to the
Los Angeles, California?
yeah, California.
Wow.
And so I said, how is this being distributed? Is it coming back to North Carolina? And at the current time, it was just being used for anything in the Forest Service within the United States where there was a need.
The big bucket.
Yeah. So I asked, well, how can I directly impact this forest that I'm operating out of, the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, it's easy. Do volunteer trail work. You can, your people are using the trails. The forest is ran off of volunteers doing the work out there, keeping it maintained, trees, limbs, erosion, just, keeping the trail safe. So I said, okay. So that's how that started. And I kind of worked with some local volunteers that were certified. And next thing you know, I was a trail crew leader.
And so how do you find people to help you? Is that through the bicycle racing?
So a lot of it, so now, what we've done is I've gone from a volunteer to, we've got a full blown company now that actually builds trails. So,
that's long cane trails. That's how you handle your trail work.
That was Long Cane Trails.
Gotcha.
That's how that was kind of born.
Okay.
And people around here are pretty easy to find to get your hands dirty on a trail, because what you'll find is people find stake in that trail. They find that, when they build a trail, they have a piece in it.
Oh, they take ownership of it.
Away.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you build trails up and down the area?
Yeah, we built trails in, let's see, 7 states in the United States and 2 different countries.
Oh, wow. Good for you. That's cool. And how about mountain bike races? Do you stage those mostly back there, or is it all in the Pisgah National Forest? So you do more than 5 races there probably, but
5 mountain bike races, 1 gravel race, and then 2 road bike events, and they're all in Western North Carolina. They're kind of spread out. All the mountain bike races are in Pisgah. But it's just such a rich place in trails that, and roads that we're not even touching the surface on what we're having our events on. We've just picked the really, really good stuff.
Wow, that's cool. And you're pretty passionate about Pisgah. Tell everybody, I've not been there, so tell us a little bit about that national forest.
Well, there's a lot of history here in Pisgah National Forest. It is home of the first forestry school in America. So, Carl Schenck back in the day worked for Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt owns the largest house still today in America, which is just outside of where I live in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
And he hired him to basically, manage the forest. So he kind of had his first forestry school here and taught the policies of today of how we run today's current Forest Service in the United States. It's also a temperate rainforest, which is pretty unique on the East Coast. We get a massive amount of rainfall each year. We also, in this county that I live in, which is called Transylvania County, which is where Brevard and Pisgah Forest, the entrance to the playground is what I call it, the forest where all the trails are at.
Right.
We have more salamanders than any other county in the United States.
Huh.
We have more species of lichen than any other county in the United States, and we have more waterfalls than any other county in the United States.
Interesting.
So large change in topography, hence more waterfalls than anywhere else in the United States. Our low point in the county is 1,200 feet, and our high point is 5,800 feet. So quite the change in elevation there as well.
I'll bet. And so, in addition to you guys have been on a lot of great races and a lot of great trail building. What accomplishments are you most proud of? Is it a little of both? Or we were talking the other day about some of your trail building stuff, and people just get so excited about that. That sounded pretty cool.
Well, the trail building is cool because we all there's probably in the United States, well, probably worldwide. I'm part of something called the Professional Trail Builders Association.
Okay.
And I think at this point it's still really small. It's probably 150 people total.
Wow, that is small. Huh.
Still, so we've been a part of this association for 15 years. I mean, we were top 50.
Wow.
In this. So it's an interesting trail building. Not a lot of people understand that there's people out there that actually focus on constructing trails. They're not landscapers, they're trail builders.
No, and it's true construction. I mean, you guys, big equipment and the whole, it's contracting and construction work, correct?
Yeah, and then the only difference between us all is that we all have different personalities. So we've been taught the same techniques. It's how you apply those techniques to transfer into a feeling to the customer, whether it be a hiking trail, a biking trail, or a horseback trail. They all have a feel to them. It's about the experience when you're on the trail. And that's what I think you're hearing a lot. Each trail builder has their niche, and we have a particular niche in, flow trails, more mountain bike trails, and they just feel good. When we get done, they flow right. They feel good. They're safe. They're, a big accomplishment for me in trails is if you can't figure out which way is better. Is it clockwise or counterclockwise? That's a great accomplishment for me.
Nice. That's pretty cool. And plus, I would imagine, too, if it just blends back into the landscape, right? You can't tell. You guys go in and do your thing, and nobody knows you were even there.
Yeah, they can't tell if it was done 10 years ago or 2 months ago.
Right. How about some of the accomplishments with Blue Ridge Adventures? Any particular bike races you're most proud of?
Definitely the Pisgah stage race, for sure. I mean, that one is, there's 3 stage races in America right now. And a stage race, what makes a stage race, it has to be multiple days in a row. Kind of like the Tour de France is what most people would understand what a stage race is. So that one is very unique, and we're on our 11th year now. What's cool about it is it pulls international people. None of my other events pull international people. So, I mean, we've got people from New Zealand, Spain. I mean, you're talking pretty far away coming to experience North Carolina.
And how many riders in that race, approximately?
We're limited to 200 people.
Wow.
So it keeps it really tight and nice. And by the end of the week, you've met so many new people and so many new friends from all over the country. It's very unique because we all sit down and have dinner together every night.
Right. How many stages?
5 stages.
Wow.
And that covers 140 miles with 20,000 feet of climbing.
Holy cow. That's impressive. I got to check. Is it on... Is it anywhere? There must be YouTube videos of it we could find.
Oh, yeah. If you go to blueridgeadventures.net, we have a whole stream. We capture the videos every day for all 5 stages. So it shows the action. But, yeah, it's intense. And you've got everybody from, the high-end pro level to people that, just ride 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow.
They can pull it out.
Any epic stories of that stage race? It's 11 years. I'm sure there's some pretty interesting things that have happened, weather or otherwise?
Yeah, it originally started in the fall, and it was cold and snowed one day, and I said, this is kind of crazy, so we're gonna move it to the spring. And yeah, and again, going back to the temperate rainforest, when we had it in September, October, it was so lush, and it was cool because people would come from the western part of the United States or even Canada, and they didn't understand the trees. They've never been in so many trees in
Right.
Mount Laurel that it was like a cave of trees the whole way. And they just come out and they're like, I've never been anything like this. And, whereas the spring, you still get a lot of trees, but you can see through the mountains a little bit more. It's not so thick. You get the flowers, and it just, it's a lot cleaner, you get to see a lot more. So I think the transition from fall to spring was a good move for the busy stage race.
Very cool.
But back in the day, the snow, it was epic.
I can imagine.
It's hard enough, and then throw the snow in there.
Right.
But we've had some major days where, it rains here. And when it rains 3 or 4 inches at a time.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, these people have come from all over the world to ride. So we have to do something. And boy, the abuse on the bikes it's amazing sometimes.
How do you
brake pads they go through, and tires and stuff on days like that? It's good for the bike shops.
Does everybody have to bring their own road crew to maintain all that? Is it like the Tour de France where they come with a team, or is it just individuals?
You can race as a duo team,
okay,
or you can race as individuals. And then we have local bike shops that support all the mechanical needs that you have.
Oh, cool. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So you must involve a lot of the locals for support.
Oh, it's completely ran. Yeah, local food. I mean, you've got everything is completely local, and trying to highlight what we have here in Transylvania County.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. So have you had any mentors that have helped you along the way, put all this together, or anybody you looked up to?
Yeah, back in the day, going back to the transition from doing volunteer trail work in the forest to actually putting it to, a real job, I would say my business partner currently, Bill Victor, down in Augusta, Georgia, he started the trail company, Long Cane Trails, way back in the day.
Okay.
And before I bought into it. So, I mean, he definitely... he was always chatting about this trail stuff and this new language that was getting created around trails, and how the International Mountain Bike Association was writing this Bible, if you would, that the Forest Service and state parks would use in this language, so we could all talk the same and kind of understand what we were looking for. And then the book came out, and I went, man, this is for real. Like these mountain bikers have actually written a book that the Forest Service and state parks are using as, the guidelines.
Yeah, that's great.
And I got to say, Rick, today it still is amazing to me to get a permit from the Forest Service, and they say refer to Emba's Trail book on how to ride sweet single track.
Wow, that's impressive.
And it's like, that's just amazing that's an official guideline book. It's such a loose term, how to create sexy single track.
Yeah, but that'd be seminal advice. I mean, that's the Bible, like you said. That's very impressive. That's great.
Yeah.
And how about some other organizations you've done either trail projects with, or you work with on the bike side, the Blue Ridge Adventures side of things? Must be a ton of organizations.
Yeah, and I think one of our best experiences was, through the International Mountain Bike Association, they formed something called SORBA, which is the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association.
I heard of
and
that.
Basically what this is it is a group of volunteer folks that, help on trails. Once you build trails, it always is like a road. It needs maintenance. There's a way that you can, as you build the trail, you can involve the community, which I really love to do, to actually have them come in and do some of the lifting for you, if you will, clear the trees out, finish the trail. And it creates a sense of ownership in that community. And one of the best projects we've ever done is in Augusta, Georgia, where we did the FATS Trail, which is short for the Forks Area Trail System.
Okay.
And this particular trail system was was 28 miles. Took us years to do it, 3 years to be exact. But we took the area of Augusta, Georgia, that really wasn't too much of a mountain bike community. We built this 28 miles of trail, and we kind of watched the bike shops, and we made them do reports and kind of see, like what's your sales? How many people coming in? Well, this was 2006. 2008, the IMBA had the World Summit in Augusta showcasing the 28 miles that we built.
Cool. Which
really accelerated Long Cane Trails and kind of our reputation and what we did. And it was quite the honor to have, the world, people coming from all over the world to look at how we built trails and, how it affected the community, the economic impact. That was quite the honor.
That's impressive. That's great work. And I like you're a community builder. I love that you involve every aspect of the community, because I think that's important. It makes everything more successful.
Yeah, and it kind of educates people to what it takes to build a trail. Therefore, you understand when it's done, you have to maintain that trail.
Well, they know what you're doing. They're more likely to support it, as opposed to, what are those guys doing? That's why they're messing up the forest. It's like, well, they're improving it, actually. So yeah, that's awesome. When you do work in the forest, how much of it, or is any of it, in wilderness?
We don't do a whole lot in wilderness because we use mechanized machinery.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And they will not allow that in wilderness areas.
Right. That's one of the issues we have out here in the Bishop areas. There's a lot of wilderness, so any trail maintenance that you do, when you get up a trail, pretty quickly you're in wilderness and you can't use mechanized equipment. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and that just drives the price of trail building really, sky high.
Yeah.
When you're doing it by hand.
Exactly. So in addition to biking and trail building, what other outdoor activities are you involved in?
I like to run a light trail run. I definitely like to snowshoe the small times that we get snow here. That's always fun. Mm-hmm. But believe it or not, I still like to rollerblade a lot. I get a lot.
Really?
I get a lot of little looks when I'm rollerblading around town. So I do it at night now. So I become the freak of my neighborhood. But
that's cool.
I really, I grew up skating, and I'm 47 now, so I don't want to go jump on a half pipe or skateboard or anything. But rollerblades are a little more stable, and I feel good, and I like that low to the ground, feeling that speed.
You get the speed.
High
Yeah,
when you're low to the ground like that. So,
and you must have
really a thrill seeker, man. I mean, I've grown up on go-karts, four-wheelers, all kind of,
wow.
I like doing things outside.
It's hard to beat speed. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, controlled speed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I tell everybody these days, if both my feet leave the ground, something went seriously wrong. So
yeah,
but
no doubt.
You must have good roads back there that be rollerblading, because that's little rocks and pebbles and things can really, or big cracks. I mean, that could really mess you up.
Oh man, the road system here is amazing.
That's great.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll have to get back there. So, do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get in the outdoor biz or grow their career or get into the trail building biz?
Well, I think starting early, I mean, if you feel the passion that you want to be in it, I mean, get your hands dirty and get in the industry however you can. And, just get started early. As my story. I mean, I knew I wanted to be outside. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet, but if you stay focused on what you're doing, it'll all fall in place for you.
Yep.
And trail building right now, is a huge opportunity.
Seems to be growing.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity because, again, I mean, just 10 years ago, the actual language was made to, the book was written, if you will, to kind of say, what is trail building? How does it work?
Right.
And a bunch of science was put behind it, and it works, and it's interesting to see that it does work, and see more and more young folks as well as older folks, because when you talk about trail building, I mean, we're talking about stonework, we're talking about
Yeah.
I mean, you can break it all the way
Shovels,
down
axes.
well, you can break a trail down to a pathway as well. I mean, we get a lot of bids that are paved pathways. We don't bid on those.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our specialty, but there are a whole bunch of trails that do. Because again, it's about that experience on that pathway from A to Z, not necessarily just connecting you from, your house to the grocery store.
Yeah, well, in the Forest Service these days, I mean, they must love you guys because their budgets are, cut to the quick, and they just have no money to do this stuff. You come in and boom, help them a lot. Of course, they have to pay, but they don't.
Well, we do, and we do both. We ran, so currently, I mean, I we'll take a bid from them, and we get paid to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
But we also do a ton of volunteer work with them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they definitely they've got a bonus in the fact that in our area there's 3 or 4 professional trail builders that actually are trail crew leaders and donate their time into the forest
that helps,
to teach younger folks at bike shops, whatever, kind of what's going on and maintaining the trail.
How much of that work do you do? Do you do like a couple times a year or a lot of it weekends?
I'd say 1 or 2 times a month we're actually out there doing stuff. Yeah, I mean it's because I mean for Western North Carolina, just the piece I live here in Transylvania County, we have over 1,000 miles of trail.
Wow, that's great.
Just in our county.
Yeah.
So 400 and something is my focus because they're mountain bike trails, which I like.
Yeah.
But that'll keep you busy, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No doubt. Lifetime job.
Yeah.
Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity, meditate? Obviously, you get a lot of exercise in.
Yeah, I mean, riding my bike, I've got to ride my bike, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of stuff done on the bike. And what I mean by that is my head can go in a lot of places and I can solve problems and I can dream. It's important for me to keep dreaming. And, I've been accused a lot of, oh, Todd, you're a kid still. You just like to go out and ride that bike all the time. And
good for you.
like, no. And I'm like, no, that's how it works for me. That's my meditation. That's how I unwind. That's how I figure things out.
Yeah.
That's my inspiration. That's my
awesome.
time to myself to wind down and talk to myself and kind of figure out, in a different mind frame, of ease of the outdoors and the air, of what's the right thing to do here? What's the situation at hand and how do you handle it?
I love it. That's great. Any favorite outdoor books or books you give as gifts? Outdoor business, anything?
I always go back to the Trail Solutions book of how to build sweet single track. I love giving that one. It's $25, and man, people, trails are just cool now. People want to know the science of trails.
Right.
And it's a great. It's got a lot of cool pictures. It's easy to read. It's not a hard book, but it just when you come out of it, you have a greater satisfaction of a trail when you go walking. That it just didn't appear there. There was a science behind it. There was a thought behind it.
Right. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes. I'll have to pick that up. That's a good one. How about a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Yeah, I just picked up something that I am really impressed with. It is from a company called Thermacell, and they're heated insoles. And these things are really cool. They were
for
actually
footwear?
98 for footwear. Yeah, you can slide. Okay. They're just insoles. You slide into any shoe. And I'm using them to cycle. I've used them to run. I use them a lot of times just working outdoor, but they're real neat because they're rechargeable and they come with this fancy little remote that has no heat, medium heat, or high heat.
Oh, wow.
And you can just hit it and man, it works really well. And so for cycling on a cold day, I can usually get, a good hour and a half before my toes start to go bad.
That's great.
Now I'm up to 3 hours.
Yeah, that's great. Huh. I haven't heard of those. I'll have to link to that. We'll link to those in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, they're really cool and they work really well and I can get, hours out of them.
And you get different sizes or do you trim them?
Different sizes and they're trimmable.
Oh, okay. Wow. Very cool. Well, we'll definitely
cool product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else you'd like to ask of our listeners or say to our listeners before we wrap up?
Just follow your passion, man. That's my story. I mean, I when you think about trail building and you think about, putting on bicycle races, you kind of go, what could you really do with that? I've done quite well, and it's very exciting, and I've played all my life, which has been my goal. So it's good. And, it's interesting to think, he's just putting on bike races and building trails, but there's a great amount of satisfaction that one gets in both of these jobs. One, when you put an event on, a bicycle event, no one really knows who the race director is. So you get to vicariously sit around your event and watch people get really excited about something that you've worked months on to produce, all for that day. It's almost like a play. You work on it, you work on it, you work on it. You open the curtains and the bike race is on. You close the curtains, it's over.
That's awesome.
So same thing with trails. You work on these for years and years, months, if you will. And then all of a sudden, the owner gets to come out and walk on a piece of land that they've never been on, that they've owned on this piece of property. And to watch that excitement, to watch me bring that to somebody, man, I mean, that's just priceless.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool. And how can people find you if they want to follow up, reach out and ask questions? Or
BlueRidgeAdventures.net is the racing website, and then longcanetrails.com. Both of those have a link to any of the links on there. Go directly to me.
Okay, cool. We'll link to that in the show notes. Great. Awesome. Well, Todd, it's been great catching up. Thanks.
Yeah, Rick, thanks for everything. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I got to come back and check out your work. I've been back there, but I don't think I've been to any of the areas you've been in, so I'll have to check that out.
Absolutely. I'd love to show it to you.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, I appreciate the time. Thanks, and have a good day. We'll catch up soon.
Okay, good talking to you. Thanks, Eric.
All right, see ya. All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Todd Branham. You can catch up with Todd via the contact pages at BlueRidgeAdventures.net and longcanetrails.com. Cane is spelled C-A-N-E. You will find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theyouttoorbizpodcast.com/episode 143. I would be grateful if you visit iTunes and give us a rating and review. Also, be sure to share this episode with a friend or tell a friend about it. I'd love your support too. Visit the support page on our website or go to patreon.com/theyouttoorbizpodcast and see the many ways you can support the show. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by WordPress. I've used WordPress to build a number of websites, including Stillwater's Consulting and the Outdoor Biz Podcast. There are a number of themes and plugins available both free and for purchase, enabling you to easily create the custom look and feel you want. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theyouttoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theyouttoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to theyouttoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.